I'm a little bit curious about your reaction to the title of this video or this presentation, When Getting High is Good. I remember back in high school, this was a number of years ago. I'm closer to zero, or excuse me, I'm closer to 100 than zero. And we did our homecoming float. The team we were playing was Wisconsin Heights. That was the name of the city. So our theme was We're Higher Than Heights. Now, thinking back to that time, it wasn't quite as acceptable as it might be now. And it was our senior year. We had won the float contest for 3 years, so we were kind of like being rebels and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't win, but we got a lot of attention. So, but this is better. This is a better kind of high, I would say. And this is all about John Maxwell's new book about high road leadership. I want to raise some points with you and let's have a conversation about are you a high road leader and where that can lead to and how that can help you, especially if you're a new manager. You're put into a position maybe where you aren't familiar with leadership skills. So maybe this is something that can help you. So let's take a look. Again, High Road Leadership is a new book by John Maxwell, and we'll learn some good things about how to get on a real, true, good high. So let's get started. How about that for a transition? So what kind of leader do you want to be? And this is a rhetorical question, whether hopefully you're not watching this while you're driving, but maybe you're listening to it. But as you're watching this, think about what kind of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be a king leader, like it portrays in this chess setting here? Or do you want to be a true leader, an authentic leader? We're going to talk about different kinds of leaders and low road leaders, middle road leaders, and high road leaders, and see what how each of them are different. There are some similarities, but there's really some differences in why you want to be that high road leader. So there are 12 attributes that John talks about in his book, and I would recommend you getting the book. And actually, I've been involved with studies. We've gotten groups of people together working through the book and having some conversations. That's a great leadership tool. So there are 12 attributes, and you can see from John's quote here where he talks about finding common ground. And I think that's really true, no matter where we are. I happen to be recording this about a month after the election in the United States. But any time of the month, any time of the year, any time of the week, we can always find common ground with people. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, atheists, and religious, the far right, Catholics and Jews, whatever the case might be, we can always find that common ground. And that's what we should be striving for. And that's what inclusivity, I believe, is all about. So what do you think are the attributes? If you're in a place where you can, maybe pause the video, jot down what are some of the attributes of a high road leader. They may be different than what John is going to talk about, what I'm going to talk about through John. But what do you think are the attributes of a high road leader? What pops to mind? And then we're going to actually have you judge how you're doing perhaps in some of these areas. So let's take a deeper look. So first of all, we want to look at low versus middle versus high. Low road leaders devalue others. They devalue or unvalue others. They don't see value in others. Middle road leaders seek value from others, where they're trying to take a little bit of value from them, and where high road leaders really value others. Their mission and vision is about valuing others and adding value to others. That's something that I talk about a lot when I'm doing presentations or workshops, that we need to value others regardless of their position or where they fit in the food chain in an organization. Low road leaders tend to divide people. We're just talking about common ground. Low road leaders tend to divide people. Middle road leaders kind of move back and forth, but you can imagine high road leaders bring people together. That's what they're all about, bringing people together, valuing others, and engaging them in a positive way. So low road leaders tend to widen the gap between people. Makes sense based on the first two attributes we've talked about here. Middle road leaders will live with the gap between people. They necessarily aren't trying to close that gap, but obviously high road leaders want to close that gap between people. Again, let's look at low road leaders. They typically take. They're more about taking. Middle road leaders kind of do a 50-50. It's a give what you can take, right? I'll give something, but I expect something in return. It's not a good way to go through life with that expectation. High road leaders give more than they receive. They're constantly thinking of ways to give to add value to others. And they know that they'll get return, but they're not doing it because of the return, right? Low role leaders give nothing, makes sense based on what we just said. Middle role leaders will give back when they get something, but high role leaders, their first priority is giving. All right, fits in real closely. Oh my gosh, looks like we got a commercial here. So if you're interested in a complimentary ebook, a leadership book that I've written, 7 Deadly Mistakes Every Great Leader Avoids, make sure you scan on the QR code here. If you're driving or on your phone, you obviously can't do that, but it's also at toddkukan.com/guide, toddkukan.com/guide. So take a look at that, take advantage of it. It's complimentary. Because you've put up with me through this video, I want you to have a copy of that. Well, let's continue then with this comparison. Low role leaders don't keep score, but that's because they're doing unconditional taking. Middle role leaders keep score, but that's because they give conditionally. They have conditional giving. And high role leaders, they don't keep score at all because they're giving and they don't care what they get back. Oftentimes they don't get something back, but that's fine. That's not why they're in it. Lower leaders, again, another attribute, want the me to win, not me, Todd, but me, you, maybe. Maybe you want to win, right? You're the one that wants me to win. Middle leaders want us to win, but they want to be involved in that winning. And high role leaders want you to win. Again, it really fits and aligns with everything that we've talked about in terms of high role leaders and high role leadership. Low role leaders stay in the low role, they make excuses. We hear all the times people have excuses for failures, and actually failing is a part of who we are and what we are, and we should be failing because it means we're taking risk and we're getting out of our comfort zone. Middle role leaders, on the other hand, they try to return, as it says here, or return to the middle road to correct low road behavior. So they do make that effort to try to make it right, at least getting to the middle road. And high road leaders return to the high road to correct low road behavior. They're going to stay higher, right? Higher. But they're going to stay in that high road to, again, continue to be a good leader and help others. The last set, treat themselves at others' expense. So again, it's always about others and what they can get for themselves. Middle role leaders treat others the same as they are treated. Do unto others as you would expect them to do unto you, the golden rule. There's a platinum rule, however, treat others better than they expected, or do unto others as they would want done to them. So there's a couple different ways, both good rules, but the high role leader maybe just a step above the low role leader. So let's end the middle role leader. So let's take a look at the practices. Here's a list of the practices. High role leaders bring people together. Value all people. Obviously, we've talked about that. Acknowledge their humanness. They admit their mistakes. They admit their fails. Okay, we all make mistakes. We all have failures. And if we're not failing, we're not trying to succeed. We're not stretching our comfort zone. Do the right things for the right reasons. The fifth one, and these are not in any particular order, give more than they take. Touched on that one, obviously. Develop emotional competency, right? So they're balanced emotional. They're competent on the emotional. They have emotional intelligence. Place people above their own agenda. Just like you place culture above vision, they place people above their own agenda. They embrace authenticity. Just like on this video, I've been authentic. I stumbled over a couple words. I'm not going to re-record it until I have it perfect. This is who I am. This is Todd. This is who you get, right? So you embrace that authenticity. Are accountable for their actions. I'm actually in 2 accountability groups. One has consequences of $50 if we don't meet our goals in a month. Another one has consequences of letting down the other 3 people in the call, but we're accountable for our actions. Live by the bigger picture. We always see a bigger, better picture down the road. We can always see what's on the other side, whether it's a success or whether it's a challenge. There's something better we know that's always on the other side. Don't keep score, right? It's not a game where we keep score. I don't mind keeping score, but not in this particular case. And we certainly desire the best for others. It's all about adding value to others. So John has a strong faith. I have a strong faith. So John's actually developed before we get to that. So I want you to look at this and figure out, what are your top 2? Which are your top 2? Shoot me an email, right? Let me know, what are your top 2 practices as far as a high role leader goes? And which 2 do you need to work on the most? Which 2 do you need to work on? And what can you do to work better on it? What can you do to improve it? So take a second, think about that. If you want to stop the video, write down some notes. If you journal, put it in your journal, whatever the case might be. But here's John's high road prayer. Again, you may or may not be a person of faith, doesn't matter. But John, that's a focus of his life, a focus of my life. And so here's a prayer that he's developed to share with people in terms of a high road prayer. So if you're inclined, you can certainly pray this prayer. Maybe it's something you want to save and see on a regular basis. But whatever the case might be, what you need to focus on, what people should focus on, is being that high road leader. That's when being high is a good thing. So I really want to thank you for paying attention to this video. Go out and get the book. Let me know if you want to get a study group together. Get my complimentary guide. Take steps. Leadership develops daily, not in a day. Have a great day, everybody.